Okay, good. All right. All right. Ready? Big crowd here today. Big crowd. Jayo Ramadhava Kunya Vihari Madhava Kunya Vihari Gopinana Madhava Girivardhana Janamalabha Girivardhari Yasunanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasunanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Munatera Panachalde Yamunatera Manachalte Jayorahu Madhava Kunya Vihari Jayorahu Madhava Kunya Vihari Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravedacharya Tara Sutashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalanana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shilahridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shitvaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shaimakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Machuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Nivaramai Ki Jai Srimati Glasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanati Hari. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prastaya Pule, Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaur Bhattacharni, Nivashesha Shunyavadi Pasyacha Deja Tarni. So, what verse are we reading today? Fourth canto, what chapter, what verse?
Chapter 12, and then verse, I think, 43 or 44. 43.
So we're reading
412.
412:43. So, and this is Honolulu, Hawaii. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, does everybody have this? No, it's not on the screen. It's not working. Does I guess somebody have it on their phone? No. Okay, so we'll try our best to do this responsively. Ya Shatra Pandur Bhuvi Tashadirudam Anu Arurukshad Api Varsha Pugai Sat Pancha Varsho Yad Ahobir Alpai Prasadya Vaikuntam Avapa Tat Padam Yakshatra Bhuvita Shadirudam Anvara Rukshada Bivarsha Pugai Sat Panchavarsho Yada Hobiralpai Prasadya Vaikuntam Vapatatpadam Yashatramandur Bhuvita Shadirudam Anvara Rukshada Bivarsha Pugai Sad Panchavarsho Yada Hobiralpai Prasadya Vaikuntam Avapyatatpadam Yakshatra Bandur Bhuvita Shadirudam Anvava Rukshada Bivarsha Pugai Sad Panchavarsho Yada Hobiralpai Prasadya Vaikuntam Vapatatpadam. Okay, anyone try it? Anyone want to try? Thank you. What's that? Jatadvati Jai. Jai Panchatattva. Anyone else? Ladies? No? No? Guess no one else. Okay. Ya. One who. Kshatrabandhu, the son of a Kshatriya. Bhuvi, on the earth. Tasya, of Dhruva. Anirudham, the exalted position. Anu, after. Arurukshet, can aspire to attain. Api, even. Varshapugai, after many years. Satpanchavarsha, 5 or 6 years old. Yat, which. Ahobi, alpai, after a few days. Prasadya, after pleasing. Vaikuntham, the Lord. Avapa, attained. Tatpadam, his abode. So translation, Dhruva Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of only 5 or 6 years after undergoing austerity for 6 months. Alas, a great Kshatriya cannot achieve such a position even after undergoing austerities for many, many years. So you can repeat. Dhruva Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of only 5 or 6 years. After undergoing austerity for 6 months. Alas, the great Kshatriya cannot achieve such a position even after undergoing austerities for many, many years. So purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dhruva Maharaj is described herein as Kshatriya Bandhu, which indicates that he was not fully trained as a Kshatriya because he was only 5 years old. He was not a mature Kshatriya. A Kshatriya or Brahmana has to take training. A boy born in the family of a Brahmana is not immediately a Brahmin. He has to take up the training and the purificatory process. The great sage Narada Muni was very proud of having a devotee disciple like Dhruva Maharaj. He had many other disciples, but he was very pleased with Dhruva Maharaj because in one lifetime, by dint of his severe penances and austerities, he had achieved Vaikuntha, which was never achieved by any other king's son or Rajarshi throughout the whole universe. There's the instance of the great king Bharata, who was also a great devotee, but he attained Vaikuntha Loka in 3 lives. In the first life, although he executed austerities in the forest, he became a victim of too much affection for a small deer. And in his next life, he had to take birth as a deer. Although he had a deer's body, he remembered his spiritual position, but he still had to wait until the next life for perfection. In the next life, he took birth as Jada Bharata. Of course, in that life, he was completely freed from all material entanglement, and he attained perfection and was elevated to Vaikuntha Loka. The lesson for the life of Dhruva Maharaj is that if one likes, one can attain Vaikuntha Loka in one life without waiting for many other lives. My Guru Maharaj, Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, used to say that every one of his disciples could attain Vaikuntha Loka in this life without waiting for another life to execute devotional service. One simply has to become as serious and sincere as Dhruva Maharaj that it is quite possible to attain Vaikuntha Loka and go back home, back to Godhead in one life. Nice purport. So, we'll read the Sanskrit again. Yad Shatramanur Bhuve Dashadi Rudam Anvara Rukshed Apivarsha Pukai Sat Panchavarsha Yadaho Viralpai Posodya Vakuntam Vapatatpadam. So Om Gana Timanandasha Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Krishna makes a very interesting statement in the Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam Janmanamante Yanvamam Prabhajite Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many births, one understands Krishna consciousness. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. This is very rare. Very, very interesting. And then also in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we find Arjuna asking about, generally what happens to most devotees. He says, what happens to an unsuccessful yogi? After hearing Krishna's description of the yoga system, Arjuna figures out, I can't do it. Because Arjuna says, Chanchala manaha Krishna pramati balavadradam tashaham nigraham manyu vayor eva shaduskaram. I can't control my mind. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. And to subdue it is more difficult than controlling the wind. So Arjuna asked this pointed question, what's going to happen if I'm or if someone doesn't reach perfection? Is that person completely lost, like the clouds are dissipated by the wind? And Krishna says, first of all, the answer is one who has done good is never overcome by evils. And then he gives a specific understanding of what happens to someone when they are a little Krishna conscious, and what happens to someone if they're very Krishna conscious. He says if one is a little Krishna conscious, the next life, they get to go heavenly planets. Nice. Then, not so nice. But anyway, it's nice. Or not so nice. Anyway, whatever, from your perspective, whether it's nice or not so nice. So they get to go to the heavenly planets, and then after some time, after being in the heavenly planets, then they come down again to the earth planet. Oh, Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Good to see you. How'd it go? So they come down again to the earth planet, and they're born in a family of wealthy people. Okay, and they get a chance to be Krishna conscious in the next life. And then, if they're very advanced, then they take birth in a family of transcendentalists, a devotee family. And Krishna says, such a birth is very rare, to take birth in a devotee family. So, anyway, so generally that's the process. That, next life, then next life, then next life, and gradually advance. In fact, there's an interesting story in the Mahabharata. Once upon a time, there was Vyasadeva was walking down the road, and as he was walking down the road, he saw a worm And this worm was squirming across the road. And Vyasadeva said, "Why are you going so quickly across the road?" And the worm said, "Worm Vacha." The worm said, "Because there's something coming, there's a cart or something coming on the road, and it's going to squish me." And Vyasadeva said to the worm that, "Don't you understand, in your next life, you will take a little higher birth," I guess a butterfly or whatever. And the next life is still higher birth through the different species of life. Prabhupada talked about this as far as evolution. Not that we believe in materialistic evolution where everything came about through chance, all the different species came about through chance. But we also believe that the soul may evolve from one species to another. If it's in a lower species, then it comes to a little higher, little higher, little higher, depending on its karma. Actually, the animals do not accrue karma. Human beings are the junction point. We're the only ones who can accrue karma, and animals can work it out. And we can also work it out too. So anyway, so Vyasadeva, getting back to the story, so Vyasadeva says, next life, a little higher, and then after that, eventually you become a Shudra, okay? And then you get a little higher, the Vaishya, next life. And then as a Vaishya, then you get instruction from a Brahmin, and then next life, Kshatriya, next life, Brahmin, then I'll become your spiritual master, and then you can go back to Godhead. So this worm is interesting. He decides to get squished, just so that everything will go quickly. So anyway, so not that we should stay in the middle of the road and get squished so we go back to Godhead. That's not the moral of the story. We should do that. We should understand that generally it's a multi-life experience of becoming Krishna conscious. Of course we talk about going back to home, back to Godhead, etc. in this one lifetime. But in many cases, it will take several lifetimes to go back to home, back to Godhead. So don't get depressed. That's not a problem. Because if you're serving Krishna in this lifetime, then you can get an opportunity to serve Krishna in the next lifetime. Okay. So how can one go back to Godhead in one lifetime? So the interesting thing is, this is sort of a catch-22, which means that if you just want to get out of this material world, you're not going back to Godhead. To actually be able to go back to Godhead, you have to come to the point of Manma Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Haituki Twaye. So for those of you who don't understand what that means, you've been reciting it every morning. Means being ready to serve Krishna life after life. If Krishna wants in this material world. Of course, Prabhupada did say we should want to go back to Godhead. I understand that. That's an impetus for us to perform devotional service. But the highest stage is being ready to serve Krishna wherever he wants us to serve. We should understand that is the goal. That's what we should be aspiring for. But we can use the desire to go back to home, back to Godhead as an impetus. But going back to home, back to Godhead is not just a fancy version of the heavenly planets. Some people, they say, I want to go back to Godhead so I can see the desire cows and I can have everything for the desire cows. I can get ice cream, different flavors of ice cream, chocolate, vanilla, pizza, anything, desire cow. But that's not that's not going back to Godhead. That's simply your own self-centered desires to enjoy. So as long as we have self-centered desires to enjoy, or even mukti, siddhi, kam, sakalaya shanta, as long as we have desires for gross enjoyment, subtle enjoyment, or even mukti, then we're not reaching perfection. But Krishna understands this. Therefore, he says in the Gita, Chatur Vidha Bhajanti Mam. People come to me for different reasons. People come for 4 different reasons, basically. Because they are in distress, because they're inquisitive, they want wealth, or they just want knowledge. The interesting thing Krishna says after that those who come, or those who are seeking for knowledge, are considered higher. And that's an interesting statement that Krishna makes. Why would he make that statement? He makes that statement because those who are on the intelligence platform, those who are fixed in their goal, will not be deviated. Just like the story we're reading here about Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva means fixed. You understand? He's fixed. Or as Krishna states in the Gita, the 2nd chapter, Ekeha Kurunandana, that he has one-pointed. He's one-pointed. And what is, of course, Dhruva's one-pointedness is again not exactly pure devotional, not even close to pure devotional service. It's interesting too. But at least he's one-pointed. And also another verse from the Bhagavatam, that akama sarvakama mokshakama dharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham puram. That one should approach Krishna whether one is free of desire, one is full of desire, or desirous of liberation. Akama without desire, moksha kama desire and liberation. Sarvakama means all desires, basically. So what does it mean for us? I mean, we do have some desires. It's important to be honest about these things, introspective, honest, like that, and admit, what is my desire? Of course, the desire should be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness, like going back to Godhead is a desire, it's dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. And then we should be fixed on that particular desire, the spiritual desire. And that's called a sankalpa in Sanskrit. Sankalpa means intention. So most of us, we're not so fixed. We actually have trouble focusing on our japa. That's the most common question I hear from devotees. My mind is wandering. How can I focus on japa? When I'm chanting japa, I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat in the morning. I'm thinking about, my enemies, who I'm going to hate today. I'm thinking about all these things, about my bank account, so many things. So the reason is we're not focused on our goal. It's really important. So what I suggest to the devotees is when they chant japa, and while they're chanting japa, they should have a sankalpa. Why am I chanting? And it could be many different reasons. I mean, we're not suggesting you can be like Dhruva Maharaja, you want a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. That's not a good idea. Or I want a temple bigger than any other temple in ISKCON. Guru, I want more disciples than any other guru in ISKCON. That's simply a burden. It's stupid. Like Prabhupada told that story about the lady who was in the forest and she was collecting firewood, putting it on her head, as they do in India. They actually carry things on their head. And she dropped it. By accident, she tripped and dropped the firewood. And then she chanted, Krishna, Krishna, Govinda, Govinda. And Govinda came and he said, what do you want, my dear devotee? And she said, put the firewood back on my head. That's foolish. But we can be praying for some spiritual purpose. praying for the health of a devotee or something that really resonates with us. And or if you really want, you can pray Mama Janmani Janmani Shvare Bhavatat Bhakti Harita Kitwaye. But that, I think that would be a little dishonest. I mean, how many of you, or me either, how many of us would be willing to say, Krishna, I'm willing, Mama Janmani Janmani Shvare, birth after birth, I'm willing, Kita Janma Hoy Yata Tuya Das. I'm willing to become a worm in the house of your devotee. How many? Any raise your hand? No. I mean, it's good to be honest. Or how many of us would be willing to say, Narayana Paraksave Nakutashina Vibyati Swarga Pavarga Narakeshu Apitul Yarta Darshana? How many of us would be willing to say, I'm willing to go anywhere, I'll go to heaven, I'll go to hell. Whatever you want, Krishna. I mean, that's pretty interesting, that particular verse, that verse of the Bhagavatam. Narayana Paraksa Vre, a topmost devotee of Narayana, Napatashana Vibhiti. He doesn't care where he goes. Swarga, he can go to heaven, up Varga, liberation, or Narakeshu, up to Darshana. He sees all these things. Narakeshu means hell. He sees all these things as the same. But Prabhupada gave the example that a devotee is like a wheat threshing machine. That a wheat threshing machine, because you don't have grow wheat here in Hawaii, a wheat threshing machine just threshes wheat no matter where you send it. It doesn't do anything else. It's programmed only to do that. So a devotee is programmed only to serve Krishna. So, I mean, for example, I use that particular understanding sometimes when I'm preaching to Christians. You know, we're out distributing books, preaching to Christians. The Christians say, you're going to hell, right? Anyone ever had that said to you? You're going to hell. And I say, that's great. Because the preaching is great there. You don't have to convince people they're suffering. Here in Hawaii, it is so difficult. Right? It's like heaven. Prabhupada said, if any place is nice in the material world, it's here. It's Hawaii. So, you know, you go to people here, the material world is suffering. Why? The weather's perfect. There's avocados as big as watermelons here. I've seen really big avocados I've seen before here. And why? I mean, why should I join Krishna consciousness? I'm okay, you're okay. Anyway, so, but you go to hell and you say suffering, everyone says, right on. Just like I experienced, not going to hell, but I experienced, in the past I used to do prison preaching. You know, going into the prisons, preaching to the prisoners. So many prisoners were interested in Krishna consciousness. Easiest preaching I ever had. He just said, you know, chant Hare Krishna and you'll be free mentally from the prison while you're in here. And they were going, Hare Krishna, so much determination they had. This is great, liberation. And so what happens? Why did I give up prison preaching? Can anyone guess? Because when they got out, back to home, back to Maya. Because everything was miserable. It was great when they got out, or at least not great, but at least better in the prison. So anyway, so that a topmost devotee of Krishna, Mama Janmani Janmani Shvare, or Narayana Paraksa Veda Kutesh Vipiti Swarga Bhavara Narakeshu Apitul Yartha Darshana, you can go anywhere and serve Krishna. So, and that's really the only thing, that particular mood is the only thing that satisfies us. Because the going back to Godhead mood is the bhakti ras. You understand? The taste of the relationship or the loving relationship with Krishna is what will actually satisfy us. What Savaipum Sam Parodhamma Yata Bhakti and Hoksajay. Ahaitaki Apretiyata Yadmisu Prasidati. That's the only thing that will satisfy you, which is unmotivated, undeterred, unmotivated material motivation, devotional service. Yadmisu. That's the only thing that satisfies the self, is that. So that's really what it means by going back to Godhead. And then, even in this lifetime, you can be Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means liberated even within this body. And then everything is blissful. The whole material world, Vishwam Purna, Shukayate, even this Vishwa, this material world, Purna Shukaya, this material world becomes filled with happiness because you have this bhakti ras. You understand the taste of love. It's just like in this material world, of course it's temporary, when someone is in so-called love, they forget about all their material miseries for a while. But it doesn't last. Of course, that's passion, and as Krishna says, happiness in the mode of passion is what? Nectar in the beginning, poison at the end. So, anyway. Okay, I don't want to be unromantic. That would be very detrimental to all of you ladies. Anyway, so the bhakti rasa is something that continues and it grows. It's unlimited. So the question is, at the end, how to attain that bhakti rasa right now, and how to be, which is also how to be determined to attain that bhakti rasa. And there's a very easy way to attain that bhakti rasa. We need bhakti to attain the bhakti rasa, of course. And it's stated by the acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and others, that Krishna himself is not the one who gives bhakti ras. Bhakti ras, or bhakti Latabish, is given by Krishna's devotees. Bhakti is independent, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And bhakti is independent, but he is the property of the devotee. Krishna is the property of the devotee. Sadhava hridiyam mayam sadhanam hridiyam tvaham maranyat tena janati naham tebhyo managapi. Krishna says, the devotees are in my heart, just like the devotees have me, Krishna, in their hearts. Then the devotees are in my heart, and because they do not know anyone else other than them as mine, I do not know anyone else other than them. Other than me as mine, as theirs. So I do not know anyone else other than them as mine. So, got it. So, we have to develop this bhakti ras by being dedicated and having loving relationship with Krishna's devotees. As not only a spiritual master, that's easier. Of course, it's not that easy. But with all of the Vaishnavas of the Lord, and of course in the Nectar of Instruction, this is very clearly elaborated on, these loving exchanges. There's 6 listed. There are actually more types of loving exchanges, but these 6 basic ones: Dadati Prati Granati Guriyam Agati Prajati Bhungte Bojyate China. Revealing the mind in confidence and hearing from others and giving presents and receiving presents. So these loving exchanges are actually what pleases Krishna, more than just approaching Krishna directly, isn't it? We find this in relationship to Guru, but in relationship to all the Vaishnavas. Like Krishna says, one who says he is a devotee is not my devotee, and one who says he is a devotee of my devotee is my devotee. So that's the secret. Just like, I'll tell you one story, and then we'll take questions. there was one devotee in Navadvip. His name was Kalidas, and he took it as his duty to serve all the Vaishnavas, and particularly all the Vaishnavas' remnants in Navadvip. And he had a very tricky way of doing that. Give people bhoga to offer to Krishna or prasadam, and after they ate, he would wait outside their house and sort of eat their remnants, or even if it just happened to be a mango skin, he could suck on the mango skin or pit. One may think, oh, Muchi. But actually he had faith in prasadam. That's actually very interesting. I remember in the early days, we asked Prabhupada, when people leave over prasadam from the Sunday feast, should we eat it? Prabhupada said, only if you have faith in prasadam. Of course, when I was a new devotee, I didn't care whether I had faith or not. I just wanted the globulins. That's another story. So anyway, so this Kalidas, there's one story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how he interacted with this other devotee, Jadru Thakur, who was from a low-class family. Manamali family, like really low class, and Kalidas was from a high class family. Yet still, he served them, gave them water, and then ate their remnants by sneaking around. And so, he got Lord Chaitanya's mercy in a way that nobody else was permitted to get. And what was that way? That Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allowed him to drink Lord Chaitanya, his foot bathing water, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was bathing his feet to go in the Jagannath temple. Lord Chaitanya didn't generally allow people to do that. In fact, there was another time when a devotee snuck and did that, and Lord Chaitanya had him thrown out of the Gundicha temple. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just generally didn't allow this, yet Kalidas took like that. And Lord Chaitanya stopped him after some time, says, Krishna's fulfilled your desire. So in this, we can understand the secret of becoming a pure devotee, being devoted to Krishna's devotees. And just one final story, in regard to one of my godbrothers, who was not so proficient in quoting verses and giving like an elaborate class. His name was Jayananda, who you've all heard about. But he was so devoted to his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, so devoted to Rath Yatra. As you know, he was the ISKCON's Acharya of Rath Yatra. He was so devoted that Prabhupada personally was feeling separation upon his departure and indicated that he went back to home, back to Godhead. So by achieving Prabhupada's grace and the devotees' grace, he used to serve the devotees in a very humble way. There was no speck of pride in this particular devotee. I remember many times I would go to the San Francisco temple and I'd say, where is Jayananda? And he was generally underneath the car, fixing the cars for the Sankirtan devotees. And, and basically he couldn't even pronounce the Gayatri mantras. Prabhupada tried to teach him, and Prabhupada said, no, just think of him, think of Prabhupada while he's chanting. And then he reached perfection. So we have to understand, not by expertise, of course we should read, we should try to understand, and we can learn some Sanskrit verses, it's very nice for preaching Krishna consciousness. But his perfection was in his dedication to his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, and the Vaishnavas, always serving the Vaishnavas. I remember, even when Prabhupada wasn't present, I remember cooking with him in the kitchen, and he went all night long, and I lasted till about 7 o'clock at night, and I couldn't take it anymore. But he went all night long, and the next morning he was there. This was a Lord Chaitanya festival in San Diego, And so that's our secret, not being some big educated Brahmin scholar like that, but simply devotion to Lord Chaitanya's servants, spiritual master, then there's no problem. So, anyway, then you go back to Godhead in this lifetime. And as far as Dhruva Maharaj, this particular story, his devotion to the order of his spiritual master, and Prabhupada's dedication to the order of his spiritual master. You see, there's a common denominator in the lives of those who are perfect, or in Dhruva's case, becoming perfect. So, any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you're definitely right about when you're chanting your rounds, how the mind just thinking, well,
Yeah.
do this, do that. But doesn't chanting Hare Krishna cut through that? I mean, right? You're chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah, but there's also offenses on chanting. It's not just chanting Hare Krishna. Even though Niyamena Tishtan, there's no hard and fast rules for chanting, but there are different ways that we can perfect our chanting quicker. So one is avoiding the 10 offenses, obviously.
Yes.
Obviously, that goes without saying. And also, it's mentioned it's offensive to be inattentive while chanting. Inattention. So my suggestion is, if you want to be attentive, you focus on your purpose of chanting. Like Dhruva Maharaj, he was focused on his purpose of chanting his mantra. You understand? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He is focused. I want this. I want this. I want this. Not some. It was material, yeah, but it was mixed. It was mixed. In the beginning, he was karma misra bhakti. You understand? It was mixed, but it became purified. So the whole point is tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha. For tivra means like fixed or forceful. So if you chant, and it doesn't mean chanting loudly or screaming. Like some people think forceful japa is Hare Krishna. And they chant so loudly you can't be in the temple room with them at the same time. That's not what we're talking about. Fixed japa, Krishna. Read the Shikshashtaka, which we're, of course, chanting, reading every morning here. Ainanda Tunija Kinkaram, if that resonates with you. That I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I've fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Yes, chanting Hare Krishna cuts through everything, but you actually have to focus on the mantra. Does that make sense?
Focus on the mantra?
Focus on the mantra and your purpose of chanting. You're talking to Krishna. Like if I'm talking to you, right now I'm talking to you, and I'm just looking at him, it's weird. I'm talking to you. There's a nice question you asked. It's weird. Weird and offensive. You probably may feel offended. And wouldn't you feel offended, if I don't even look at you when I'm talking?
No doubt.
What?
No doubt.
Yeah. I'm not even looking at you. You're offended. What's speaking of Krishna? So, so we need to control the mind. And we control the mind by, actually the Shikshashtaka gives us perfect instruction how to control the mind. Specifically, I like that verse, Ainanda Tinkaram. I'm your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I've fallen into the ocean of birth. That, please fix me up for this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. That's one I can generally relate to. And, most devotees can't relate to the Nadanam, Najanam, Sundari. They think, don't give me wealth. Why? I want wealth. Isn't it? Don't give me followers. I want followers.
So use it all for Krishna.
Yeah, use it for all Krishna. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, well, that's good. But generally people are thinking, money, money, money is the honey, as Prabhupada said. So, yeah, if you could use it for Krishna, like Prabhupada said, you could take a picture of him taking the money in, because there was some impersonalist who had a picture of himself pushing the money away. So, but read the Shikshashika and apply the verses of the Shikshashika to your own self while you were chanting japa. Apply those verses. And again, that verse, it always keeps resonating with me, that particular verse. Also said, Srinadavi Sunuchena Tarodi Vasahishana. Humbler than a blade of grass. Ready to offer all respects to others. The Shikshashika gives us perfect instruction how to focus on the holy name. Ready to offer all respects to others, isn't it? I don't want respect. Srinadapi Sunicha. Tarodi Vasahishna. Amanina. Manadena. Not wanting respect, but offering respect to others. So, anyway, there is a quality to chanting, and that depends on us, not on Krishna. That's our free will, how quality our chanting is. Okay. Anyway, when one's first starting Krishna consciousness, I understand there's so many motives there. When I was first a devotee, I would motivate myself by letting myself eat a sweet ball after I finished each round. Right now, that would probably give me diabetes. But anyway, 16 sweet balls. These sweet balls are simply wonderfuls. We had a bowl. In the prasadam room, we had always a bowl of simply wonderfuls. And so, generally, circumambulate them. Yani kani chapapani. Circumambulate the simply wonderfuls. Chant quick rounds. You motivate yourself in different ways. I'm not suggesting that. It's not so healthy. So, but basically, all we could be chanting, I want to serve, please Prabhupada. Please my spiritual master, please Prabhupada. So there has to be a bhav or an emotion while we're chanting. Chanting from the heart, not just from the mind. Okay, good question. Jai Shri Shri Panchatattva ki Jai. Okay, Panchatattva. Now, Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Vistaya, Bhutresh, Madhavakti Vedanta, Swami. All right, any other quick questions? No? Very happy to be here with everybody. See, with Panchatattva, question, Maharaj?
How long will you be in Fiji?
How long will I be in Fiji? About 2 3/4 weeks every year.
And what's next?
Sydney, Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Not coming back through.
not this trip. What amounts to my schedule, just about every 6 months. I think it's October or something, I'm coming back here.
Jai.
So this is like a stopover. Good. And, in my travel, just a planned stopover. It's nice to be here because all the Vaishnava is nice. There's a nice spirit here. And people really like kirtans here. It's nice. You have more people at Sundararti than practically any temple I've ever been at. Nowadays. When I was young, everybody went to Sundararti. I remember sitting with Prabhupada in Mayapur at Darshan. And when the Darshan was over, right before Sundararti, Prabhupada said, everybody go to Sundararti. So there's enthusiasm and nice chanting. Okay. Thank you very much. All glory is to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premananda. Time for prasadam for